Welcome into this edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. I'm Neal McCready. Today on the show, Ben Mintz of Barstool joins. I think you guys are going to love hearing from him. I'm going to keep this a little simple there. I don't like that frame there. Ben Mintz joins. Talk to him for about 46 minutes. We'll play that here in the stream. And then also we'll talk some NBA draft, have a little fun. My son Carson McCready, who knows more NBA than just about anybody I know, he was following the draft passionately yesterday. So we'll talk to him, get some winners and losers, have a little fun. First, let me tell you about the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. It's right next to the Oxford Crystal. Go in as you come in or out of town for the holidays. You got people coming over. Get some of the ribs. They're great. Everything you could want there, beer selection, snacks, drinks. It's all there at the Oxford Exxon, Craddock Oil, the touchless fill-up as well at the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Give Corey an idea of what you're looking for in a Ford product. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is absolutely up to you. Again, 662-257-1900. Ben Mintz will join in a little bit on the Rafters Music and Food Hotline. Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford. Be a great place late this weekend to hang out, watch college football, watch the NFL. Tonight there's a game. Got NFL games on Sunday. Got college football all weekend. So it'll be a perfect place to hang out, enjoy the drinks, enjoy the food, burgers, po' boys, shrimp, chicken, all of that there at Rafters Music and Food on the Square in Oxford. I'll give you guys a few little updates on some things that are going on. Devontae Shuler, the Ole Miss guard, named to the preseason All-SEC second team today. The first team is John Petty of Alabama, Keontae Johnson of Florida, who's a stud. Speaking of NBA draft next year, one of the guys that will be at the top of the draft, Brandon Boston Jr., he's on that list as well. Javonte Smart of LSU, Trendon Watford of LSU, A.J. Lawson of South Carolina, and then John Fulkerson and Vez Pons of Tennessee. The second team, Herbert Jones of Alabama, Desi Sills at Arkansas, Scotty Lewis of Florida, Olivier Sarr at Kentucky, Devontae Shuler, the Ole Miss senior guard, Drew Smith from Missouri, Jermaine Cuisinart from South Carolina, Savion Flagg from Texas A&M, and Scottie Pippen Jr. from Vanderbilt. So it's the SEC, and as of right now, everything points towards a Wednesday start date for the SEC season, the Ole Miss season. Ole Miss and Devontae Shuler and company scheduled to join Central Arkansas, forgive me, Central Arkansas on the court at the Pavilion next Wednesday, 1 o'clock. You can see that game on SEC Network Plus. So as of now, fingers crossed, all signs point towards basketball beginning on time. I texted a little bit yesterday with Kermit Davis just to check on him. Said he had mild symptoms, so if everything goes according to plan, he'll rejoin his team on Friday, a week from tomorrow, for their third game of the season. Ronnie Hamilton will be the interim fill-in head coach for the first 2 games of the year at the Pavilion for the Justin Reed Classic. So everybody kind of knocking on wood that that's going to go well. I've had some people asking what am I hearing about football. I was just looking at a tweet a moment ago out of Arkansas. The Hogs are struggling to keep it going. Sam Pittman says that if they don't have any more positives, they can play, but he admits that their numbers are getting super low there in Fayetteville. Keep an eye on that. That's a problem. And then the big story to keep an eye on, Mississippi State plays at Georgia this weekend. That game tomorrow night at what time is that game? I've got it here in front of me. 6:30 on the SEC Network on Saturday night, I should say. I think that game's going to get played. Mississippi State has real issues. COVID, injuries, opt-outs, quit. All of those things add up. Their number is really small right now. It's in the mid-50s is what I'm told. You have to have 53 to play. You got to be able to you got to have one quarterback, four defensive linemen, seven offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, a quarterback, and 53 scholarship players. And it's going to be tight for Mississippi State. I talked to people yesterday. I posted this at rebelgrove.com. There are people at Mississippi State who don't want that game to get played. I'll get called a homer and all sorts of names for saying that out loud, but it doesn't make it not true. Mississippi State does not want to play the game. They'll play it if they have to play it. There are some teams in the league that are playing despite the fact they could opt out. Arkansas is an example. Arkansas could opt out. They could easily get under the number today, manipulate a few things, get under, and not play LSU. They want to play. Ole Miss wants to play. To their credit, South Carolina wants to play, and they could surely find a way. But you can't say the same for every team in the SEC, and it's a problem. It's an issue that the league had. The league knew it was going to have it. I've seen a lot of criticism for Greg Sankey. I get it, but frankly, I don't think it's deserved. I don't think there's anything he can do. From a PR standpoint, you can't go out and question whether people actually have COVID or not. You can't question contact tracing. You can't say, no, I don't believe that those people were actually nearby. You can't do that. The optics on that would be awful. There's already so much concern about liability, the way things look. You look around the country, games are getting canceled, games are getting postponed, that kind of thing. There's nothing really Sankey could do. There was a kind of an honor code here, and very clearly that honor code has been violated. Simple as that. So keep an eye on the games for this weekend. Ole Miss and Texas A&M as of right now. I believe that game will be played on December the 5th. That's my guess. If Ole Miss and Mississippi State can play next weekend, I do think Ole Miss will get 10 games in. I think you'll see Ole Miss and Texas A&M rescheduled for the 5th. I think you'll see Ole Miss and LSU bump back to the 19th. There are some games that can be moved around. You can make it work, but there's no margin for error. Another game off the schedule this weekend almost makes it impossible. And then next week is a week that I know everyone's worried about. Getting through next week without cancellations gives you a path to getting it done. Cancellations next week, and it's a disaster. JD says, happy birthday to Chance, and tells me that my shirt is on inside out. It's not on inside out. I'm looking right at it. It's all good. I'm not as stylish as some of you guys, apparently. I just throw stuff on. No one's looking at me. When you look like me, no one cares what you wear. It just doesn't matter. When you're as ugly as I am, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't dress this up. It's not possible. So that's where things are looking in the SEC on rebelgrove.com. We've got our picks up. Neal's Picks Week 11 is up. Also have the Butcher versus the Spin Instructor. Greg Jones, Campbell McCready going at it in Week 10 of their competition. Campbell with the 6-game lead over Greg going into this week's games. Check out LB's. They've got lots of seafood in today. Turkey coming in this week. If you are coming to town, you got some cooking plan for the week, getting ready for a weekend with the grill, since there's no Ole Miss game, or you're getting ready for Thanksgiving. And all you got to do is go to LB's right across from Kroger, 2008 University Avenue in Oxford. Make sure you tell Greg that you heard about LB's on any of our MPW digital network of podcasts, and you'll get a little something thrown into your sack there at LB's. You'll love it. It's one of my favorite places in town. It will be yours too if you give it a shot. LB's Meat Market. It's a podcast that is also brought to you by Comer Heating and Air. No one wants to come home, find their heating system isn't working. Certainly not now, not with fall upon us and winter approaching. Our friends over at Comer Heating and Air have you covered. Comer Heating and Air is the name you can trust. It brings more than 50 years of professional HVAC experience to Oxford, Tupelo, and the surrounding area. Comer Heating and Air offering a special fall preventative maintenance agreement to make sure your heating system is running in tip-top shape. Make sure to call Comer Heating and Air 662-801-1777 for all your heating and cooling needs. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Christmas is just around the corner. Avoid the last-minute holiday scramble this year. Let the folks over at Blue Delta Jeans make your holiday special. All you have to do is visit their site, bluedeltajeans.com, or stop by the Oxford studio to purchase your loved ones a gift card for a pair of bespoke Mississippi-made jeans. Every gift card for the full value of a jean will receive a signed copy of Wright Thompson's newly released Pappyland. It's the story of Julian Van Winkle III, the third-generation head of a little whiskey brand known as Pappy Van Winkle. Signed copies of Pappyland are limited, so don't wait. And also don't forget that Blue Delta is here for your holiday gifting at work as well. No matter the number of people in your company, give Blue Delta a call to inquire about bringing Blue Delta jeans to your office for the best holiday gift out there. Dead Soxy wants to provide a huge thank you to the Rebel Grove MPW digital community for their tremendous response to the score sale. They trust that you will be more than satisfied with your decision and look forward to a lasting relationship as your new favorite sock brand. Additionally, they want to thank the many returning customers who utilized this one-of-a-kind event to stock up. Don't forget that they're going to have, if you missed out on the sale, you can get a few more pairs for the holidays. The Black Friday BOGO event will be returning this year. If you're signed up on the email or SMS list, you'll have early access to this sale. So thanks again from Dead Soxy for your incredible support. And as always, stay Soxy. Podcast is also brought to you by Visit Oxford. Go to visitoxfordms.com. Check out the events page to see what's going on locally this week. You'll find things such as the Square Alliance Open House, November the 27th from 11 to 6. Santa will be walking around the square. His sleigh will be there. Certain shops will have sales that day as well. Also on the 27th is the Lafayette County PRCA Rodeo at the Multipurpose Arena from 7 to 9, and be looking out soon for more holiday activities in Oxford. Again, to see all of that, head to visitoxfordms.com. Also brought to you by our friends at Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, Grenada Nissan's the place to go. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Great lease deals as well. All of that at Grenada Nissan, GrenadaNissanUSA.com. So I caught up with Ben Mintz earlier today in New York. We had a nice long visit. It's a really fun interview for me. He's a great story. I didn't know a lot about Ben. Frankly, I didn't know Ben at all before he got to Barstool. And his story's incredible. It's really one that as I told him, I'm going to make my kids watch it. I'm going to make them watch this interview when it's posted a little later on YouTube and on the site so that they can see this, because it's a lesson in perseverance, man. It's a remarkable story. I think you guys will like it too. So here's Ben Mintz of Barstool. I think you'll enjoy this 46-minute visit or so. Ben Mintz of Barstool, kind enough to join us. Does that still sound crazy to you when you hear of Barstool?
Yeah, this whole thing, I still don't really believe it. And I'm about a month in to working up here in New York. I mean, I was unemployed living in Oxford, Mississippi during the beginning of quarantine from late March to late June. So, yeah, this whole thing's surreal. I'm on my fourth city in 2020 during a worldwide pandemic. I feel like I've had a 5 to 7 year life journey just this year. It's just a crazy story, but just trying to hold on tight and enjoy the ride.
It's a great story. We're going to get into it in a minute. I didn't know that we had some ties. You took my dad for freshman English my father, you and I are both North Louisiana guys. Mm-hmm. My father taught at Louisiana Tech forever. And then he was the dean of education at ULM. And when he retired from the Louisiana system, he took a job at Ole Miss. this was back in, was this like 2001? Yeah, it was 2001. He took a job at Ole Miss so that he could, do the double up. You could get your Louisiana retirement and work in Mississippi, and teachers don't make a ton of money and get a chance for a few years to make some money. And so you knew my dad long before you knew who the hell I was.
Yeah, I did. I got to be honest. Your dad was one of my favorite teachers I ever had, and he took an interest in me. I would hang out after class and talk to him for 15 or 20 minutes. A lot of it had to do with the North Louisiana thing because I grew up in Monroe, and I loved your dad. I'm glad to hear he's doing well. Look forward to reconnecting with him.
Yeah, so you're a St. Fred's boy.
I am a St. Frederick Warrior. I graduated in 2001, and we had a little bit of a Monroe lineage kind of start coming to Ole Miss, and Robert Lane and Alex Presley and Peyton Farr, who all were athletes for Ole Miss, kind of came behind me. But Monroe's kind of an extension of the Mississippi Delta, I would say, kind of a big hunting area. And so Monroe kind of naturally fit with Oxford, I thought a little bit, even if it was in Louisiana. And so we had a little bit of a pipeline going, and I kind of was the start of that in fall of 2001. But I was a finance major, and I was an ATO at Ole Miss, and I got really into poker. I was actually a professional poker player from 2006 to 2014, and rose to great heights in poker. But once I started doing well in poker in college, I was making a lot of money, and I was a stupid 22, 23-year-old kid. And, let's just say the academics kind of weren't as much of a priority once I was doing well with poker, with money. And so that I kind of never really finished my finance degree, and moved to New Orleans in fall of 2009. Got to go see the Saints win the Super Bowl. I'm a diehard Nola and Saints guy. And I lived there until 2014. At my peak in poker, I was top 200 in the world and online. And then the government actually shut it down in April of 2011. And I played live poker for a few years. I got 75th in the World Series of Poker main event in 2011, which was the peak. But what happened was I was traveling around the country and living in New Orleans, living above my means. And, New Orleans, it's like the House of the Rising Sun song. It's been the ruin of many a poor boy. God, I know I'm one. And I kind of got into a little bit of a life rut in 2013 and 14. And one of my best friends, who's the number 2 bartender at City Grocery in Oxford, Elliot Willard, tall guy with a ponytail. If you go in City Grocery upstairs, you got to know him. Anyway, he was back in school in Oxford because he messed up when he was young too. And so he gives me this phone call in May of 2014. He's like, Mintz, you've been saying you're going to come back and finish this school forever. I got us this house right across from James Food Center by the square on Jackson Avenue. He's like, I got an extra bedroom for you. You've been saying this forever. It's time to basically put up or shut up. And I was in a life rut at that time, and I needed to get out of NOLA. And I was like, he's right. I need to do this. And so I moved back to Oxford when I was 31 years old, right as Ole Miss. That was the year they made the College World Series, when they won at ULL. And I had a year left in school, and I finished my finance degree, and I actually worked at Proud Larry's in the kitchen. I'm good friends with Scott Carradine. It's a long special fall from 75th in the World Series main to making salads and sweeping floors at Proud Larry's. And I got to tell you, that's the best thing that ever happened to me, because it reset my priorities and made me humble and grateful and understand the value of money. And I reset at 31, 32 as a broke college kid. I finished my degree in May of 15. I graduated with a 2.0000 on the nose from the finance. And what happened after that was a guy that I think you might know, Monroe Ruston Sports Radio in North Louisiana, a guy named Sean Fox, who's been doing it for a long time. Yeah. Childhood friend of mine. I'm a pallbearer at a funeral in Monroe, and Sean was at the funeral. And after I'm just taking a drive with him, and he said, "What do you think about moving to Shreveport, Louisiana?" I said, "Well, what's in Shreveport?" I knew I needed to get out of Oxford. I was just playing poker after I finished school. He said, "Well, they were trying to hire me to take over the sports radio station, but I have a wife and a kid, and I'm committed to Monroe, but I'm going to recommend you for this job." And I said, "All right, let's do it." I had zero experience.
I was going to say you had no radio or journalism background at all.
Well, no. So he basically said, "Look, Ben has no experience, but he's got a funny personality. He knows a lot about sports. So it's, it can either go really well or very, very poorly." So my first show was December 14th, 2015, and I was horrible. I was terrible for 9 months. I had to carry a 3-hour show. I knew 10 people in Shreveport.
So how did you wait? Hold up, stop. Because
you're good. There's plenty to this. I got nothing but time.
No, because this is fascinating. So you did a 3-hour radio show by yourself?
Yeah. So it started out. I literally moved to Shreveport. I knew 8 or 10 people. I had to build this thing. I had no experience. I also had to go out and sell it, and I didn't even know what the heck I was selling. I literally didn't even know I was selling air.
People who've never done radio have no idea what it is you just said. I did radio in Mobile, but I had Taylor Zarzer was my partner. And I mean, he knew a lot of people. I knew a lot of people from being a sports writer. So I kind of learned radio from him. But I can remember Ben doing shows by myself for 3 hours thinking, I don't know that I'll ever get to 6 o'clock. We started at 3. I think we're never going to get to 6. The clock just did not move. And you booked guests, and I had a producer. I cannot imagine. That had to be I don't know how you didn't get so intimidated by it that you didn't just run away.
Well, it was a really rough first year. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I probably made 15 or 20 grand my first year doing it. It was just getting by, but I knew it was something I loved. And that once we got to that first football season, which was fall of 16, I was the voice of Airline High School calling 5A play-by-play, and that kind of got my name out in the community a little bit. I decided to kind of put my own spin on it. And I was the only fantasy football hour in the whole state of Louisiana. That really got us going with the fan interaction. People loved the fantasy hour texting in. And then I'm also, have a gambling background. And so I did a lot of stuff with point spreads. And what I figured out doing sports radio, man, people can tell through the air what you're passionate about. When I'd have a beat right, when I'd have, somebody on for something that I wasn't interested in, you could feel it through the air. And so it really took off when I kind of made the show my own and talked about fantasy and gambling and, I don't know, live music and poker or whatever. But I think that I just tried to make it my own. And then what really made my career take off was my relationship with T-Bob Hebert, who's down at ESPN Baton Rouge. So I met him at a Mardi Gras party in 2013 in NOLA. He'd come on my show was Mixing It Up with Mets. He'd come on some. And I convinced him in the fall of 17, like, hey, let me be your gambling picks guy on Off the Bench, which is the #1 morning show in the state of Louisiana. It's ESPN Baton Rouge, NOLA, and Alexandria. It's him and Jordy Collada, 7 to 10 a.m. They do a fantastic job with Guarantee Media in Baton Rouge. I have a lot of respect for them. And the best thing that ever happened was when that segment started, I went on this huge heater and went like 14-2 my first 3 weeks. And so it got a cult following immediately. And so that segment still goes on to this day on Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. This is the 4th year of it. Well, fast forward to this year, mid-March, I'm still doing Shreveport-Bossier. I'm 4 years in. And right as COVID hit, my GM calls me and says, this has nothing to do with you. Your show's successful, but our station's not making money. The dreaded words in radio, station reformat change.
Oh, yeah.
You never want to hear that.
Yeah.
And so they flip it from a sports to a soft rock station. And I get let go right as it's the middle of Ole Miss baseball season. So it was right as Ole Miss was playing in Monroe at UOM, actually, which ended up being the last 2 games of the year. So I get let go, and I literally wasn't even phased when they let me go because I knew I'd built it to where it could get for 4 years. I was where I was in Shreveport. I'd made it a success. I had a great relationship with ESPN Baton Rouge. I was like, hopefully I can get a job down there, and that'll be the next step. Well, I get a phone call from Jordy Collada that I take in the parking lot of Ole Miss ULM, and he said, hey, we're going to hire you to be our number 3 and Off the Bench. And I'm like jumping up and down, and with all my friends, Ole Miss people were there. We grilled out in left field. Basically, we have a celebration party Tuesday night and Wednesday afternoon. Then the world shuts down completely Wednesday night when Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID. So Guarantee Media puts a hiring freeze in. And so I'm sitting there in Louisiana, kind of like, well, what do I do now? And this is what I talked about with Oxford being my safe haven. I'm like, well, COVID's bad in Louisiana. I'm going back to Oxford to just low key it and get off the grid. And I just chilled in Oxford from late March to late June. Online poker blew up because everybody was at home because people couldn't go to casinos. I did pretty well with that. And then in late June, I got a call from – I thought I'd get ESPN Baton Rouge when football started because I knew they were interested. Turned out it was late June. I get a phone call from Jimmy Ott, and I accept the job to be his number 2, which was 6 to 8 p.m. show. He was kind of focusing more on sports gambling, and so that was kind of a fit with that. And I moved down to Baton Rouge around the 4th of July, and it was going great down there. I was the only non-LSU grad radio host down there, so I thought that was an accomplishment in itself in that market. And they loved me in Baton Rouge, and I was 3 months in, and, I was hoping I'd be there 5 years. I mean, it was a great radio station and fit. And then what happened with this video was I was watching Ole Miss Kentucky, and I'm super high energy, fiery guy. I mean, that's not news to anybody that knows me. And when Ole Miss won, Ole Miss has had a terrible 4 years. Obviously, you've been covering it. The NCAA stuff's such a beat down. The fan base has, been looking for some positivity. I mean, literally, there hadn't been a fun win since 2016 A&M till Kentucky in 2020, or it felt that way at least. And my producer just like randomly flips on his camera when I'm going nuts he just decides this will be funny for our social media. And, in the heat of the moment, I mean, literally it wasn't, he just decided I'll just put this out there for our radio. And then he tweets out, someone's excited about Lane Kiffin's first SEC win. And it's me going nuts on this video, yelling the hottie toddy and I don't know, doing whatever. And I don't think anything of it. Well, Sunday morning, I did a football Sunday morning show in Natchez, Mississippi with former LSU great quarterback Rohan Davey, who was the first SEC champion with Saban. And I'm on my way to Natchez, and my phone goes off like a nuclear bomb at 9 a.m. And I look down, and it's Dave Portnoy. SEC football just hits different, and it's me going nuts on this video on Twitter. Then I see Dave Portnoy is following me on Twitter, and I'm just like, man, what's going on here? Then I'm sitting down in Natchez at Magnolia Bluffs, getting ready to go on the air at 10 a.m. 9:45 a.m., I look down at my DMs, and it's Dave Portnoy. He says, "Is that you?" Point of the video. And I said, "Damn right it is what I responded. And he said, "We're ready for you to come up and work for us at Barstool Sports." And I just jumped out of my chair in Natchez. And he called. We set up a phone call the next day, and I had another Natchez show. And I'm standing out by the bluffs, Mississippi River. And he calls me. I said, "Hello." And the first words Dave says to me is, "Your voice sounds exactly how I hoped it would, with the southern drawl and the thick accent I have." And he said, "I may not know everything in life, but I've been pretty good about finding talent, and you're my guy." And I just was like, wow.
That is the most incredible story I've ever heard. So Luke Logan's kicking the extra point at the end of overtime. Kentucky scores, and the kid misses the PAT. And Ole Miss scores, corral to Elijah Moore, if I remember correctly, and then Logan kicks the PAT to win it. You're going nuts on this made extra point. Did you know that the camera was on you, or were you just?
I didn't. No, I just started going nuts, just fired up. And Martin was by me, and he just in the heat of the moment was like, "People think this is funny on our social media for radio."
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not afraid. Look, one of my characteristics, I don't have a fear of failure. I'll put myself out there and look ridiculous, whatever. It's fine. And but he just literally, I'm lucky that in the heat of the moment, he just decided to put this on. And then I got Martin, who was my producer. He came with me up here, and now he works for Barstool too. He's a producer. So he's up here, and he's my roommate. We're living in Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. It's nuts.
It's crazy. You know, man, you just said something. I always say this. I tell my kids this all the time. Like, this interview will now be must watch for my kids, because I tell my kids this all the time. One of my life failures is that until I was about 45, Ben, I was so scared of failure. I was terrified of it. And your attitude, man, is you're exactly right. If you have no fear of it, if it doesn't scare you, you can get places, because all you have to do is succeed once. So you get the call from Dave Portnoy, which I'm sure, I don't know how you were able to get through the radio show.
I think through radio, I actually learned just through dealing. I'm sure you deal with athletes all the time. Man, people are just people, no matter how famous they are. And the second people treat me on a pedestal and they meet me, I kind of lose respect for them a little bit, you know? And so that's how I try to treat all other people the same. And so, you know, our relationship's pretty good, except for the fact he said he hates me on the rundown the other day. But
we'll get to that in a minute. So he says, "Come to New York." I mean, are you at that point, or what's going through?
So he tells me, he said, "I'm giving you the option. You can stay south, or you can come to New York. We'll pay you more if you come to New York. We'd prefer it, but we really just want the content." And so in my head for a little bit, I was like, oh, well, I could work for Barstool and maybe do some side stuff for ESPN Baton Rouge and, you know, blah, blah, blah for a day. And then I was like, wait a minute. It's like, I've been waiting my whole life on an offer like this, and I've been grinding from nothing in Bossier City for 4.5 years. I dang sure I'm going to go up here and make the best of this. And also, I'm 37 and I don't have a family right now. And so because of that, I have freedom to be able to make a decision like that. And so I said, you know what, Dave, I'm coming. I'm excited about it. And I'd only spent one night in New York in my entire life in fall of 2011 before I moved up here. And I moved up here Halloween.
So a lot of people thought that Portnoy kind of did the bit a little bit like with Brandon Walker. He's bringing you up to sort of counteract that, but it really wasn't that, as much as he liked your passion, right?
Well, I think that was the video got me noticed, to be honest. He saw that video and was like, who's this guy? But then the ESPN Baton Rouge thing, you know, helped a lot. And so Big Cat, who's a huge star up here, he's done a lot of stuff with Baton Rouge with Pardon My Take, with Coach O. And they made 3 phone calls, one to T-Bob Hebert, who I'm really close with, and Big Cat comes on off the bench already. Another went to Michael Bonnet, who's the LSU sports information director. Yeah, and another went to Derek Pomansky, who's O's right-hand man in administration. All 3 went to bat, huge for me. And I'm forever grateful to those guys. They said, they're like, you're getting a gem. You're making a good move. Take care of Mintz. I think this is a great move. And so when especially when Derek Pomansky, who's close with Big Cat, went to bat for me, Big Cat DM'd me and said, hey, you're friends with Pomansky. You're friends with me. We can't wait to have you up here. And the transition, I got to say, too, I mentioned how good a job they do at ESPN Baton Rouge and Guarantee Media. I know it sounds crazy, but I hadn't been nervous once up here. Coming off the bench, and they have a $400,000 studio at Guarantee Media. I felt really prepared for this. And I know that's crazy because the whole world's watching, but, I feel like I had the right, upbringing, grinding Shreveport and grinding Baton Rouge to get here. And also just playing the World Series Poker Main Event a few times, that's a lot of pressure right there. And being able to succeed in that, I think, it has helped here too as far as dealing with the limelight.
So you say, hey, I'm going to go for it. And you go to New York. What has it been like at Barstool going from – because, Ben, you've gone from this guy who – people knew who you were, but, you're just sort of toiling a little bit in Louisiana, and all of a sudden you're on this major national platform with some people who, let's face it. The guys you're talking about, Portnoy and Big Cat and all of them, have turned Barstool into an absolute force, and you're right there with them on these shows and that kind of thing. What's it been like?
It's been surreal, and I've just really tried to bring a good attitude to work every day, and the no fear of failure thing. I bring that back up. Right now I'm throwing every bit of content I got. We're throwing a lot of crap at the wall, and most of it's working. Some of it doesn't, but if it doesn't work, whatever. The big thing is just putting it out there and seeing what people respond to, and that's kind of where I am. The first few weeks in, I'm doing a morning video, and then I do a wake up Mintzy morning video that's like me being fired up walking to work, and then I do an after dinner Mintz where I eat a mint and like make a gambling pick. I do that every night. I'm part of Pick Central on Sirius Channel 85, which is Barstool's Sirius channel. That's 11 to noon Eastern every day, and I'm really just immersing myself in the culture. I still do a lot of radio stuff in the South. Whether it's last night I was in the NBA draft show because I'm a Pelicans fan. I've done trivia. Literally whatever they ask me to do, I'm here to do with a good attitude. And I got to be honest, it couldn't be going better. And one of the concerns I had about this was, you kind of mentioned this, like, I'm a big Ole Miss guy, but I wasn't known in Mississippi media as much because I'd worked in Louisiana. And
Sure.
So the LSU fans knew me more than the Ole Miss fans, even though I was an Ole Miss guy. But I went the week before I moved to New York. I decided to come up for Auburn Ole Miss, and I'm good friends with Paris Buchanan, who's runs marketing for the athletic department. Man, he rolled it out for me. I got to meet Lane Kiffin. I just tried to do a lot of stuff all around town, just build support. And man, the Rebel fan base has been phenomenal. I can't say enough. I'm getting so much support from Ole Miss fans, and a lot of the people were sick of Brandon Walker talking bad about our school, which you kind of alluded to, but I've been blown away, being the Louisiana guy that I was. I thought that Ole Miss fans would support me, but I didn't realize it would be like this. It's awesome. Very, very thankful.
Well, if you can make it in Monroe, man, you can make it in New York. I tell people.
Yeah, Bossier City too, for sure.
If you can make it in Monroe, you can make it anywhere. What is the relationship with Brandon Walker? What's that like? Do y'all have to is that
we go? He's pretty nice guy behind the scenes, but we go at it on this Ole Miss State stuff. We're pretty hostile. We get along for the most part other than that. But what's funny right now is going on is he's trying to really butter up and be nice to me because he knows that if they play next week, it's going to get ugly. I don't even know if State's going to be able to field a football team with all these opt-outs and stuff. But we've got a bet on the Egg Bowl that whoever wins by the final score differential, the winner gets to chunk eggs outside at the loser. But if Ole Miss runs it up on him, I get to throw 20, 30 eggs at this guy. And we've got this funny bet on it, and he knows – I can tell he knows State's looking rough, and he's trying to be nice to me. But look, man, he's been coming at our fan base for a year and a half. I'm not having any of this. I'm going at him on this Egg Bowl stream, and he's getting no sympathy whatsoever from me because, when I was in Oxford for Ole Miss Auburn, I had 100 people approach me like, you better give this guy a lot of crap. So he's trying to get off easy, and it's not going to happen. I'm a pretty nice guy for the most part, but this is a spot where I'm going to hold my ground.
I now have another reason that I want the game to get played. I'm so worried that the game's not going to get played because, frankly, let's be real here. It's in my business interest for Ole Miss and Mississippi State to play, and especially where it looks like it's like this one. Like look, I think Ole Miss is going to kick State's ass, and I mean, I really do. And
oh yeah,
there have been years that I thought State's going to kick Ole Miss's ass, and they did. And I think this is one where if they play, I think it's a bloodletting. I mean, State's going to score some points just because Ole Miss's defense gives up points to everyone it plays, but I think Ole Miss is going to run it up if that game happens. And so you guys will watch together. It'll be a stream.
Oh, yeah. So I'm actually, for Thanksgiving, my family, my sister, who was actually the president of KD at Ole Miss, my sister Charlotte, they live in North Carolina, and I've got a new niece who's a couple months old I hadn't met yet. And so I'm going to do Thanksgiving in North Carolina, but I'm coming back on Friday to do the Egg Bowl stream on Saturday with Brandon Walker. We're going to stream it. We can't go to Philadelphia to the gambling house anymore because Philadelphia completely shut down with COVID. They're not even allowing different households to get together. And so we're going to watch it up here in New York in the office together if it happens. Certainly hope it does because I'm looking forward to it. And then if Ole Miss, I'm hearing Ole Miss, who knows what's going on with the scheduling in college football, but I've got it on my list. I'm trying to make Ole Miss and LSU in Baton Rouge. I'm hearing possibly December 19th.
Yeah.
If it is December 19th, the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes and Matt Honey Badger in the Superdome, December 20th. And so I'm trying to do the doubleheader and just stay south for Christmas. And so I'm trying to make Ole Miss LSU if it does happen.
How do you handle? You kind of addressed it a minute ago, but how do you handle becoming a star like you have? I mean, you've gone.
Well, I got to be honest. I've gone through a lot of struggles in life, and I kind of alluded to some of them. Like the end of I was in a rut at the end of my Oxford tenure the first time when I was just kind of like hanging on, playing online poker, but like taking 3 hours. And I knew I needed to change, and that was when I moved to New Orleans. And I was in a rut before I came back to school in 2014. But, I think the fact that I came back to school and, like I said, the Proud Larry's thing, I've been on a pedestal in poker, nothing like this, and then been humbled. And now I'm in my mid-30s. Look, I'm just thankful for this opportunity. And like I said, 5 months ago, I was unemployed in Oxford, just hanging out during COVID. And so, I think I just really, I'm at a point in my life where I realize how special this is. And no matter if I have good days, bad days, I just come in and just super thankful. And also want to mention, I quit drinking about 7 months ago. And that has been, I can't say enough about what that's done for my outlook, just because alcohol can go a little dark. And, I kind of feel like I was only planning on quitting for 6 weeks, for a couple months to lose weight. And I got 6 weeks in and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel reborn. And, I think I used to drink 3 or 4 days a week, but, not doing that, I think that's had a big, big impact on my attitude and outlook. I think it's good.
Yeah, you obviously, I would never know. You come across as this incredibly optimistic person. I love I watch your morning walk every day. It's just a minute or so.
I appreciate that.
It kind of makes me feel good. I wake up looking for things to kind of get me going. I battle some of that same mental stuff that a lot of people battle. And in the middle of a COVID, that stuff can, in the middle of a pandemic, that stuff can get to you. I'll be honest. I watched your thing this morning about the Pelicans, and even though, my son's a huge NBA fan, we're going to have him on in a little while. We're going to get his thoughts on who won the NBA draft. But you're right. That stuff makes you feel good. Just, hey, here's this guy that's bounced out of bed. He's heading to work, and he's pumped up about the draft. And I loved it. I think it's great. I tell you where I think Barstool does a great job, and they figured it out. Took me a long time to kind of figure this out too about sports. So you have sports people that are big Ole Miss fans. They're big Ole Miss fans. I get it, and we cater to them, and they want to know what's going on with the team and that kind of thing. But what people really love about sports, the reason that some sports do well, is they love the betting on it, the point spreads, the over-unders. Not all fans, because a lot of fans there are fans that want minutia. They want to know about, the 2022 recruiting class, how it's shaping up and stuff like that. But it took me a while to realize that's not the majority. The majority of fans, they bust their butts Monday through Friday, and on Saturday they watch the games, and it's fun and it's social, and they might put a little something on the Rebels +7 or whatever. And so that's the kind of stuff where you guys are watching those games, and everything's about the betting lines and stuff. And the fact that you're getting the numbers that you're getting tells you that there's a lot of sports fans that are that way. It's about sports are supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one thing you alluded to, too, is the positive energy thing. I think this is working better than it ever would in any time in history because of COVID and politics. And I don't get involved in anything political whatsoever. People want to hear what I think about these games, not what I think about politics. But I think the world being so negative, there's never been a better time for the positive energy thing. I feel like, sometimes the annoyingly positive thing can rub people the wrong way, but not right now when everything's so negative. And so I think that's part of, really what's working with my brand is what you're talking about. And, like I said, I just embrace the gambling stuff. I've got all kinds of crazy old stories from being on the road. And, I've been betting on football probably for 20 years. And so I'm not sitting here saying I could beat it for a living. I'd be lying to you. I can't. I just know more than the common man, and I can kind of explain it well. And, it kind of relates to people.
The brand works if the brand's genuine. That's the thing. Your brand has to be genuine. If it is, it works. If it's not, if it's fake, it gets exposed. You know what I mean? And your brand.
No, I agree. This is how I am every day. I mean, I try to just, really be, like I said, be thankful for my blessings and opportunities and realize that I have great friends and family that support me. And, I want to represent Louisiana and Mississippi, but especially Mississippi and Ole Miss as well as I can. And I also want to add on this. I love Ole Miss and Oxford so much. And, I know Ole Miss's fan base took just a beating the last 3 or 4 years of the NCAA stuff. It was nothing but negativity. But we got a shot to really do something the next 3 to 5 years. Keith Carter has done a phenomenal job taking charge as AD. The way the Kiffin hire went down, I'm a huge Kermit Davis fan. Kermit, I covered Louisiana Tech when Middle Tennessee won Conference USA 6 years in a row and beat Michigan State, Izzo and the tourney, and beat Pitino's son in Minnesota. Man, we got a really good one for Ole Miss basketball. And then obviously I'm part of the left field city grocery tailgate and left center for baseball. I've been a big part of that for going back to 2014. Love Ole Miss baseball. And, when you look at Lane Kiffin and Kermit and Bianco and Keith Carter, I think this is about as good as Ole Miss has had as far as 3 coaches in the major sports. And, I think there's a chance we really could get something rolling. And I'm glad to see some positive energy out of Oxford, Ole Miss, and the fan base with everything that's happened the last few years.
Portnoy obviously really likes Kiffin. Loves him. Loves the interaction. Kiffin is a genius offensively. Obviously, he's also a genius with branding. He understands brand better than most people. Especially, look, most football coaches, they really are good football coaches. They're not great with a lot of outside stuff. It's something that, for whatever reason, and I think most football coaches would agree with that. That's just not their thing. He's really good at branding and that kind of thing. You're up there. You're in New York. I mean, we're here, and I'm in Oxford. I'm insulated in the bubble a little bit. What is the Ole Miss brand right now with Kiffin up in a place like that?
Well, I'll tell you this. If Matt Luke was the head coach, I can guarantee you I wouldn't be working for Barstool Sports. Portnoy, Dave loves Lane. And I think that's just a massive part of why I got hired. I literally, I always jokingly say, Elijah Moore – He cracked my top 5 favorite Rebels ever, but I think he's going to end up being number 1 because that incident in Starkville last year, that was a huge – look at all the dominoes that had to fall for me to get here.
I know.
But the Elijah Moore thing in Starkville, and then now he caught the touchdown against Kentucky, and the year he's having, I'm going to have to get a jersey or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ben, when you buy your Ole Miss jersey, you probably need to get the number 8 and put E not more on the back for sure.
But as far as the image of Ole Miss, though, the thing with Kiffin, Ole Miss, and I think Ole Miss has always had problems dealing with expectations when they're supposed to be good. The best Ole Miss is the wild, fun underdog. When we had nothing to lose, and, you saw that at the beginning of the freeze era, and we're seeing it now with Kiffin. I think Kiffin's perfect. The entertainment value's off the charts. Obviously, the defense is very, very rough, and it's going to take a few recruiting classes. But it's fun again. And, Ole Miss fans don't expect to go 10-2 and compete for championships. We go 8-4 and can win some rivalry games and compete and be fun. Great. And I think we've got an awesome situation for that coming the next few years.
You obviously know football. You were down in Louisiana. It's not done yet. It's still a while to go. But you've seen some of the buzz around Arch Manning, certainly the brand that family has, which is, elite, frankly, from a football branding standpoint. They're sort of the first family of football, and a lot of people are talking about just how good this kid is. And I hate to put this sort of pressure on him, but I guess when you're Peyton and Eli Manning's nephew, there's already pressure. Is it kind of a perfect storm sort of a deal for Ole Miss where Lane Kiffin could be in year 3 and Arch Manning comes in and you're this high-profile program at a time that you've built the brand and presumably by then the pandemic is over, thank God, please God. I mean, that it could all sort of take off. That's sort of, I look at it like that and think, boy, we could just be on the cusp of something.
That's what I think too. And it was funny. I mentioned to Dave Portnoy about Arch the other day, and he didn't know anything about Arch yet. And he was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "This is a real thing." And the thing, I know there are a lot of rumors flying about do the Mannings like Kit Lane and all that. I know they like Monty Kiffin, his dad, because Monty was the orchestrator of the Tampa 2 that Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with when Dungy was in Indy. And so I know there's a mutual respect of Archie and Monty Kiffin. I don't know anything about Lane's relationship with the Manning family or anything, but what I do know is Arch Manning, who's mobile. He's got a lot of Archie's blood in him. He can move a lot better than Peyton and Eli. The offense I'm seeing out of Ole Miss, I feel like Arch Manning could probably succeed. And then, Cooper obviously owns the Coop, the 4th floor thing at the Graduate Hotel, and has a lot of business interests in Oxford. And Cooper loved Ole Miss more than any of the Mannings, really.
Yeah.
And so, I got to say, I have some hopes there. I definitely would, obviously like any Rebel fan would love to see it, but I think it's certainly possible.
Yeah, I think it's got the ability to be a really fun story. I mean, there's a lot has to happen, and everyone else is going to recruit him and all of that stuff. And who knows how all that stuff shakes out, but it's interesting. What are your thoughts on the Pelicans yesterday?
Oh, look, I'm just – talk about the luckiest ever. How did they hit that 6% ping pong ball to get Zion last year? Yeah. I'm up here in New York dealing with all these Knicks and Sixers fans who are going crazy about this draft, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, how did you look at the draft last night, Anthony Edwards goes number 1. For the Pelicans to get the 1 pick and it be the year Zion was out,
yeah,
luckiest thing ever. And, all of a sudden you look around, they got Alvin Gentry out who's, good. He was atrocious. All of a sudden, though, with Zion and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and Jackson Hayes, this Pelican thing's about to be really, really fun the next few years. And a big part of my branding ideas up here, I'm here to represent Ole Miss, but I did the 5 years in New Orleans. I love the Saints. I love the Pelicans. And New Orleans is going through so much with COVID right now because there's no Fortune 500 companies in NOLA. It's all tourism, hotels, restaurants, bars, music, and it's getting crushed completely by that mayor, LaToya the Destroyer is what she's being called in there. And so I want to use this Barstool platform to help the economy down there post-COVID. And I'm going to support music. We're going to take this Barstool thing to Jazz Fest, Mardi Gras. I've been supporting the Tipitina's live benefit because Tips is struggling to stay open. Yep. I'm a huge live music fan. But I plan on using this thing to do everything I can to help New Orleans too. And so I'm going to support the Saints and Pelicans on the road. And I got really lucky that there were no Saints fans up here before I got it. I'll be honest, that was a huge break. That they didn't have anybody representing that area because I immediately I got down here. I'm like, I'm the New Orleans guy down here.
You upset Portnoy the other day. You.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
Have y'all smoothed that over? Have you?
Dave. Look, he's something. So what happened was to share. The Masters was on, and then all these NFL games were on, and he was sweating this UCLA Cal game that was like at the beginning of halftime. I was like, college half. I was out of line for this, and I admit it, but college halves are 25 minutes long. I was like, hey, can we just flip this off during the half? And, of course, I'm an idiot, and I forget to flip it back. And 4 minutes into the second half, his bets start losing, and he was pretty salty about it the rest of the day. But, I don't know what to tell him, man. You don't bet overs in California games if you watch them play offense, I didn't tell him that to his face there, but – that's a little auspicious if you've seen them. This ain't the Jared Goff, Sonny Dykes here out there, man. They got Will, anyway. But I'm not quite at a point with it where I can tell him that, But, yeah, he kind of just was a little salty with me. And then, to be honest, I made a really, really ballsy move on Monday where I just know that, he's one of those alpha personalities. And so he's going to respect people that have heart. I walked in his office, and I looked him dead in the eye. I was like, man – I'm not here to be good. I'm here to be great. And if you want to mess with me, bring it on. I'm here for all of it. And look, I went in the lion's den and I asked for it doing that. but I know he respects that kind of heart and attitude. And so right after that, he gets on the rundown in front of hundreds of thousands of people. It's like, I didn't realize this was possible, but I hate Ben Mintz. And, I just started laughing. You got to take it. I kind of try to live by the motto, take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah. And so, a lot of this stuff up here is pretty funny. And so you got to take it with a grain of salt. And, they're sending a bunch of Ole Miss gear his way, so hopefully that'll smooth some things over. And also, one other thing, I won a free bet. Sunday, we had a drawing out of a hat, and two people, and I ended up being one of them. I won a free $3,300 bet, and we took the over in the Bucks-Panthers game, which was a shootout. I mean, we won it easily. And so it was hilarious because Dave had to pay me out the $3,300, and he walked by the radio studio, and he was just like, I can't believe I got to give you this money. And gave it to me yesterday. It was great. So fun.
That's awesome. What's your you got a hot pick or two for the weekend coming up?
I like Seattle a little bit tonight because I think they're in a bounce-back spot. They're it's down to 2.5 at home against Arizona. Seattle struggled the last 2 weeks, but, man, at Buffalo and at the Rams are good teams. I don't think those are as bad of losses as people are saying. And the weather report, mid-40s and raining, I don't think that favors Arizona coming out of that fast track. I don't know. We'll see. But I like Seattle to bounce back a little bit tonight. I'm pretty good at the over-under game. One thing that's a strategy I love is college football. I bet first half unders a lot because these games get out of hand in the second half because the teams don't have depth and clock stops on first down and the games last 4.5 hours. But you see a lot of games be lower scoring first half and then a lot they get crazy second half. But I'm looking at the under in LSU, Arkansas. Arkansas, it's 63.5, but the total's inflated because that 63-28 game last week. And LSU started a true freshman quarterback on the road. Arkansas's defense has played pretty good all year until they played Florida. And Arkansas doesn't have the most firepower either, so that's one of the ones I'm looking at this weekend.
Yeah, there's some rumblings about Franks not being available in that game too.
Even better for the under. LSU, it's LSU and Penn State are the two teams. I mean, they're just opting out. This year's just been rough on both of those schools. It's bad.
LSU obviously in the news this week, got not in a good way. They're getting program getting handled. Mm-hmm. USA Today, LSU didn't respond to it all that well. You were down there. I know you like a lot of those people, and I get it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right. That's been it's an interesting dynamic that, I grew up going to LSU games in Death Valley. I'm diehard Ole Miss first, but, if it doesn't affect Ole Miss, I'll support LSU being a Louisiana guy. I don't know. Some parts of our fan base may have an issue with that. But
where do you think that program is, though? I mean, a year ago they were on top of the world, and right now they're kind of in free fall.
Man, it's in a big free fall right now, but the recruiting's still going well as long as he can close those guys. But the Bo Pelini hires an unmitigated disaster. I mean, they're going to have to move on from him at the end of the year. It feels like, people are comparing it are there similarities between the Coach O, Joe Burrow 2019 and the Gene Chizik, Cam Newton 2010 a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Where things just like the perfect storm hit, kind of thing, and you had a once-in-a-lifetime quarterbacking situation. I mean, I know O and LSU are recruiting better than Chizik and Auburn were. And, I'm not saying, O's done a lot in his career, but I don't know that he is, a national championship coach, top 5 guy year in, year out. We'll see in the future, but I feel like there are some similarities to those two seasons possibly.
Last couple of things. Were you into the Louisiana Tech ULM stuff when you were a kid? Was that
Well, yeah, so I was. I grew up I loved Tim Rattay. The Tim Rattay, Troy Edwards combo at Tech was just unbelievable because they were running them and Texas Tech were the first teams running the spread.
Yeah.
And so I grew up going to those games. And our radio station in Shreveport Bossier carried Louisiana Tech for 4 years. So I actually was pretty close to the program. Used to have Skip Holtz on the show. And, I have a ton of respect for Tech's program. They've won bowl games, I believe, 6 years in a row. And, they're one of the most consistent G5 programs year in, year out. And they also, I believe, lead the G5 and guys in the NFL. And so I've got a ton of respect for them. And I was really excited. I want to compliment Keith Carter. Ole Miss is playing at Louisiana Tech in a 2-game baseball series, and Ruston got destroyed by a tornado a year and a half ago. And now they're opening a brand new 2,500 seat ballpark. And I love to see Ole Miss helping support Ruston, North Louisiana, because they've been through a lot.
Yeah, that tornado was like a mile from my brother's house. Just went right through the campus. And you see the pictures, and you're like, oh, my God. It almost knocked out some of those high-rise dorms, and that could have been a lot worse than it actually was from a human loss standpoint. It could have been just catastrophic.
Yeah, that's St. Patty's Day weekend. I don't know exactly what my calendar looks like being in New York for that, but, I would like to get back and support that. As far as Ole Miss goes, I'm going to be around the South a lot. Well, this COVID thing, obviously things are pretty shut down right now. Mentally, I'm prepared for this to be bad through late February, like kind of locked down up here. I'm hoping that, obviously I'm not a doctor, but with the vaccine, hopefully things slowly start to improve in March is what I'm hoping for. But I'll definitely be back. I love Ole Miss baseball, being a part of left field, that tailgate. So I look forward to doing some Barstool videos from out there in left field. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But, I'll be around Ole Miss and Louisiana, Mississippi a lot more than people know. And one other thing I want to highlight before we get out of here is Barstool is partnered up with Pennsylvania Penn Gaming, which owns 10 casinos in Louisiana and Mississippi. And Mississippi has a sports gambling now. Louisiana just passed it on November the 3rd. And so it's Margaritaville, Bossier, LaBerge, Baton Rouge, and Lake Charles, the Hollywood on the Gulf Coast, and in Tunica, and Ameristar Vicksburg. And so I'm kind of wanting to do like a tour where I just do shows at all the sports books. And, why not? So I'm going to be around Louisiana and Mississippi. And for me to build value in this company, that's going to be a big part of it, is that sports gambling thing. And so I'm going to get out and, really try to travel. And I'm going to be around New Orleans and Mississippi a lot more than people know. And I want to reiterate the support I've gotten from Ole Miss fans is blowing me away. And I feel it in the best possible way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I see your videos, and there aren't many people on the streets of New York, and it all throws me off, because every time I've been to New York, it's just wall-to-wall humanity. And I see your pictures, and there's nobody around, and I'm like, this is crazy, because I see some of the landmarks. You're down there in Manhattan, and it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's like I said, I don't know a ton about New York, to be honest. But what I will say is this: it's made rent cheap. I'm living in the Hell's Kitchen. My rent's cheaper in Hell's Kitchen than it was in Baton Rouge. It's a fire sale in Manhattan, and so that's lucky with me starting, because the way Barstool works, you kind of get a 1-year prove-it deal, but they give you the world with the platform, and then if you do well and build it, you can really really go somewhere. And so I'm in my 1-year prove-it mode. I mean, I'm here to work and grind every day. And, New York being shut down, I mean, like I said, I don't drink anymore anyway. So I'm here to work and build my brand. And, that's what it is. And that's what I'm going to do the next year. And I look forward to, hopefully getting back south some in March and April. And, I don't know if you're going to be down for Ole Miss, if Ole Miss LSU does happen, but I hope to see some folks down there.
I'll tell you what, if Ole Miss Louisiana Tech baseball happens and they let people in the stadium, I'm from Ruston. And so I'd love to go. And like you said, I'd love to see that park, because I grew up going to baseball camps at the old park. You know what I mean? I mean, that was, my dad's office at Louisiana Tech. When you walked out of it, it basically kind of went, all I had to do was like walk down the hill. So when I'd go to baseball camps at Tech, I would leave the camp and just walk to my dad's office so
awesome.
So that he could take me home. And so when I saw those pictures of, what I didn't go to Tech, but when I saw those pictures of what happened, it was just kind of heartbreaking. And, you see that the stadium and the softball stadium and all the stuff that got destroyed. And, we have a lot of friends there. And so it's cool to see it come back. And like you, I think it's a cool thing that Ole Miss is going to go play there and kind of help break in that stadium and get them back on their feet and all that. And so, yeah, it's a long story. Maybe we can. I'd
love to. Look, I want to stay. Look, I've been a fan. I've followed you for a long time, and I love what y'all do with Rivals. And, I appreciate y'all having me on for sure. And I certainly hope this isn't the last time. It's great for me. I'm up here in New York, but I really am trying to stay on the pulse of everything that's going on at Ole Miss. I'm working with the university a lot. I'm trying to just do everything I can to positively represent it. And, a lot of the Barstool content, like I'm not going to go as hard with some stuff, some of the, I don't want to say negative stuff, but, they're not afraid to let the fur fly a little bit. And I back off some of that stuff and I know a lot of our fan base respects that.
Well, Ben, I really appreciate the visit. Thanks so much. And I'm so happy for your success and glad to kind of start to get to know you. And it's a great story. It really is. It's a fantastic story about perseverance and a lot of things. And it's awesome. And I know a ton of people are happy for you. I've put out a tweet today that, hey, you're coming on, and I can't tell you the feedback I've gotten from it. So
that makes me so happy too, because like I reiterated at the beginning, I thought this was going to go well, but just the fact that I was more out in Louisiana than Mississippi, I'm so glad to be getting that kind of support. And please follow me at Barstool Mintz on Twitter and Instagram. I'm going super hard on both of those, and look forward to coming back on in the future. And we'll certainly link up and stay in touch. And please say hello to your dad for me. Please do.
I will. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Thanks again.
That was Ben Mintz. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hate that one shot right there. We'll get to Carson McCready. We're going to talk some not NFL, NBA. We'll talk NBA draft, day after the draft in a minute. First, I want to tell you that we're brought to you by Community Mortgage. It's located in Oxford, Memphis, DeSoto County, and Chattanooga, 30 years old. Actually older than 30 years old, one of the oldest mortgage companies in the Southeast. All the underwriting and the processing is done in Memphis, so you're getting local underwriting that understands your markets. Condo financing leader in Oxford. So get in touch with Jason Lowe. Ask about Community Mortgage's float down option. Allows you to lock in the current rate, but if rates go down before you close, you can get the lower rate. JLOWE at communitymtg.com. Picks are up at rebelgrove.com. They're brought to you by the College Corner. It's your one-stop Rebel Shop. 2 locations in the Jackson area. In Ridgeland, the College Corner is next to Fleet Feet. And in Flowood, it's next to Half Shell. And if you don't live in Jackson, it's not a problem. You can still take advantage of all the great deals at the College Corner. It's collegecornerstore.com. Plus, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. We're also brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Martin Palomo and I taped a Mind on My Money podcast earlier today. It's brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust is also home to the 401k advisory services team. They can conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention that you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the Oxford Exxon Podcast to get 10% off your first year's fees. Also brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you're thinking about traveling the holidays next summer, you just want to blow something out, take advantage of some of the great deals that are available in travel right now because of the coronavirus pandemic, you can do that. Get in touch with John, give him some parameters, give him a budget. He'll give you options that you won't find on your own. 901-494-3387 or jedwards at regencytravel.net. Also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right here in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB gives you the comfort of home, all the benefits the big mega banks provide, all the technology and products you can want, all with a personal touch. When you call OUB, you speak directly with the live person. No 10 buttons to push, no 5 minutes to wait. To learn more, go to liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Brought to you also by Bain, Moss & Bowen, PLLC, located in historic downtown Corinth. Their firm practices a wider range of law, from DUI defense to car wrecks to representing government entities. It's the only firm in Mississippi made up of a sitting state legislator, a former assistant district attorney, and a former circuit court judge. That experience is unmatched in that regard, and you can tap into it by visiting them at 618 East Waldron Street in Corinth, or by calling them at 662-287-1620. And we're brought to you by Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James. It's a team in Jackson providing planning and investment guidance to clients across the state and the surrounding areas. Financial advisors Bill Geary, Logan Phillips, Chris Carrero, and Ryan Geary are partners with a commitment to personalized service. Call them at 601-368-2215. See if they might be a good fit for your financial goals. Raymond James & Associates, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. So the plan is next Saturday, Ole Miss and Mississippi State kicking off at 3 o'clock. That means that Scoreboard Business, our pregame show, will come on at 1. It's brought to you by The Rogue. You can visit The Rogue for all of the best fine men's clothing. Visit them, 4450 I-55 North in Jackson, or at therogue.com, 601-362-6383, or send them an email, info at therogue.com. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Heritage Properties, home to 3 communities in Oxford: Faulkner Flats, Cambridge Station, Lexington Point. All 3 properties are multifamily housing. They also offer on-site management and maintenance. They're pet-friendly, and they offer short-term leases. Lexington Point, located less than a mile from campus, has spacious 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom apartments with free cable and internet, covered parking, and so much more. Move in November, and you can talk to them about that. They have specials for people who move in now, 662-234-4558. All right, so a lot of you know that I live with an NBA expert. No one loves, there you are, Carson. Scoot in just a little bit, bud. There you go. And scoot this way some. There you go. You're good. Now put the mic to you and you'll be ready to roll. It's my NBA expert, Carson McCready. He got into the truck last night after his soccer practice with the flood and he had perfect timing because he got in the truck and the Minnesota Timberwolves were on the clock. So first of all, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So start overview. Who the big winners from the NBA draft? This was not a loaded NBA draft. Next year's draft, according to all the experts, is loaded with big names, impact guys, that kind of thing. This one was not. Who won in your eyes?
Well, honestly, I thought the 76ers won it big because, first off, they dumped Al Horford's contract, and that was like 25, 26 million. So I thought that was big. And they also picked up Danny Green and Seth Curry, both big shooters.
Two legitimate shooters, yeah, something that team did not have.
Yeah, that's what they needed.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I think what they did, they had to unload the Horford deal. They found a taker in the Thunder who could take that contract on. It certainly sounds like the Thunder are not through dealing. They're going to unload a bunch of guys. I think Steven Adams, his days in Oklahoma City are probably over as well. I agree with you about the 76ers. I'll tell you who else I thought had a big draft day, and it happened quietly, and that's the Memphis Grizzlies. The more I've sort of listened to what they did, they moved up in the first round. They got Xavier Tillman, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s former college teammate. They got Desmond Bane, kind of an under-the-radar guard from TCU. A lot of people weren't talking about. And they did it sort of quietly. They are, in my opinion, the Grizzlies are starting to build a brand. College guys, IQ guys, play hard. Not the old grit and grind from back when you were a little kid, but
Right.
a different kind of their own deal. And I think in markets like Memphis, where you're probably never going to go land the big free agent,
Yeah.
you have to have a brand, and I think they're kind of doing that.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that the only guy they got last night?
yeah, those are the two guys they got, Tillman and Bane. You know, and they're not super duper superstars or whatnot, but they have their two stars.
Right.
They have Morant. They have Jackson. They need now role players who can fill roles, who are willing to play roles, who will play hard, all of those things. And I think they got that. Matt Browning wants to know your thoughts on the CP3 trade.
I was honestly really happy about that. What all did we get out of that? Trying to remember.
So he went to Phoenix. So you got
We got Rubio, and then we got Oubre, we got Ty Jerome, and
another pick.
yeah, and we also got one more player, but
The two big players were Rubio. I thought last night the Thunder, I liked the pick. I can't say his name. Can you say his name?
what is it?
It's
I think they just call him Poku for short.
yeah, it's
That's what I
Poku. It's
heard.
something.
It's like Pokushevsky.
Yeah,
like that.
7-footer, has great handle.
I think he's more of a long-term project anyways.
Yeah.
You saw how skinny he was. I think he's under 200 pounds.
Yeah, he gets compared because of where he plays and his size. They say, hey, look, this is a guy that might be a bust. And they say this is a guy because of his handle and his shooting ability and his age.
Similar to Kevin Durant almost.
The people they compare him to are really interesting.
Yeah.
They compare him to Durant. They compare him to the guy who was with the Knicks, with the Mavericks, got hurt.
Porzingis.
Yeah, Kristaps Porzingis. So I don't mind it if you're the Thunder. They have like 17, 18 first-round picks. They still have Oubre. They're going to get something for him. They're probably going to keep Horford at least for a year because nobody's going to want that deal. They had to go ahead and do this. You and I talked about this the other day. Someone said, what do we think about the CP3 trade? I kind of hated it on one hand, because you and I talked about this. The Thunder were fun last year.
Yeah.
And then when the Thunder came back from the pandemic, gave us something to watch, and they played so hard and it was exciting, but you knew even if they beat the Rockets, right?
Yeah.
They weren't going
they didn't
anywhere.
have a chance at anything. I honestly wasn't disappointed in that trade. If anything, I was excited about it because I knew we weren't having any chance at anything higher than maybe a 5 seed. And even then, we're not winning 2 series.
Yeah, not realistically.
No.
Yeah, and so they still have the rights to. They have the ability to do a sign and trade with Gallinari. I think they're going to do that. They'll get an asset there. They're going to get something for Oubre, maybe something nice for Oubre.
Yeah.
They have a lot of picks. They're as someone said today in Oklahoma City, I was listening to them. The pain. You have to go through the pain first, and the pain starts now. Someone asked, did Bree and Tyree get drafted? He did not. I have not even heard anything about where he's signed. Look, here's the deal with Brean. Brean was going to have to go someplace. He was going to need an offseason where he could show that he could play the point in this league. He's got to be able to show that he can play the point. He didn't do a lot of that in college, and he's a 6'1" guard who's not a good defender. He was going to have to show that he could really defend. I think someone might give him a shot on a two-way, and if he gets that, he should absolutely jump at it. He's got to show that he can defend at the next level. All right, let's talk some losers. And I think there's a clear loser in the NBA draft.
Yeah. Trying to think. I thought of one player that kind of lost out. Okongwu.
Yeah.
Because they have Capella, they have John Collins. Both are John Collins is a power forward, Clint's a center. I don't know how Okongwu is going to fit into that roster. I guess off the bench, but.
And that's in where?
Atlanta.
Yeah. And I don't think Atlanta's done. I think Atlanta's going to add some more pieces. They've got some time, and he had an injury. It's one of the reasons he fell in the draft a little. So they might even view him as a little bit of a project.
Right.
The clear loser to me was the Golden State Warriors. It wasn't their fault.
It was
but
just
right before the draft,
Yep.
the news comes out about Klay Thompson. It's been confirmed today. It's an Achilles.
He's out for the season.
And guys don't come back from that very often. That's an aging team. And so I think, and you tell me whether I'm wrong, you and I have not had this conversation. I think if that injury had happened a day earlier or 2 days earlier, I think Golden State takes LaMelo Ball.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Or worst case, they take him for best value and they end up flipping him. But realistically, they would have taken him, just played it out. I guess played him at shooting guard. I don't know.
Yeah, would have put him in the backcourt with Curry and figured it out,
Yeah.
you know, and so now you don't have anybody to fill in for Klay, really.
Nope.
And, you know, Steph's not getting any younger.
Their roster's still horrible.
Yeah, and so you add James Wiseman, who's
It doesn't do you anything, really.
yeah, he's a big athletic guy. But one of the things you see in the draft is that this is basketball goes in cycles, and right now playing a bunch of bigs is not. And the Lakers just kind of did it. But that was different because you had LeBron.
And you had Anthony Davis.
And you had, yeah. And you know, I don't know. I wonder what would have happened if the Warriors had known specifically what was coming. Nicholas Perito Carson wants to know, what are your thoughts about the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic?
Like what specifically?
Like just kind of what are your thoughts on their future?
I think they look great. I mean, obviously they lost Seth Curry last night. I thought that wasn't great for them, but it might turn out okay because they got Richardson in return. I don't think he's a horrible shooter. I just don't think he's nearly as good as Curry.
The gamble of the week, and it will pay off one way or the other. It's going to either be big rewards or total disaster, and that's I loved the deal for the Pelicans trading Drew Holiday and getting a stockpile back. Mm-hmm. If you're Milwaukee,
it's a big risk because if you don't win this year, then you're done as a franchise. So you have no picks. Giannis is out. Drew Holiday can't do you anything good. I mean, they'll have Chris Middleton, but he'll leave or request a trade or something.
Oh, if they don't keep Giannis, oh yeah, it has a certain 2016 Oklahoma City Thunder feel to it.
Yeah,
win or bust,
yep.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Giannis is up to that. You've seen it the past 2 years.
Well, they haven't had the scorer from the perimeter that you need. I mean, they had Chris Middleton as their second best player. I think Chris Middleton can be the third best player on a championship team. I'm not sure he can be the second. I do think Holiday spaces the floor for them. I think he gives them another guy who can go for 25 on any given night. if I had been them, I would have been more active in the Chris Paul pursuit. I would have gotten somebody who really could distribute, who could make plays at the point. I'm not sure that they have that with, I guess it's still Bledsoe, right?
Bledsoe's on. Bledsoe is, let me think. Hold up.
Where'd Bledsoe go?
I thought he got traded. Let me check.
For the people
I
who.
think he went to the Pelicans.
Oh, did Bledsoe go? You're right. He went in that deal. So who's the point guard in Milwaukee now?
Honestly, probably Drew Holiday. Maybe.
Okay.
He a point guard?
I thought he was more of a 2.
Oh, look.
You're the NBA expert, not me.
I think he's a point guard, but
yeah, Matt Browning says he got traded, so you're right. I've had a hard time keeping up this week.
The one sport I can keep up with. Yeah, he's a 1/2.
I'm looking for the what'd you think of Edwards going 1?
I wasn't shocked. I mean, he's really athletic, isn't he? Like a very explosive player, right?
Yeah, he's a great offensive player, and he can really shoot it.
He's like 6'5". I think that's potentially a very, very good player. Maybe a year or 2.
Yeah, they compare him to a Bradley Beal, and if you have a chance to get a Bradley Beal, you have to take Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. There's no one guy in this draft that's a sure thing. I like Okoro from Auburn. I think he's got a chance to be the best player out of the draft. I don't know. I'm looking for the draft order. Just kind of go over it one more time. And I'm having a hard time picking it up here. Let's see. Edwards went 1. James Wiseman went 2.
LaMelo, then
Patrick Williams was the first
4.
big surprise. The Bulls taking Patrick Williams from Florida State.
That was the weird pick to me. I thought right there they were going to go at the time. Who all was left?
Well, there's a bunch of guys left. They could have taken Isaac Okoro. They could have taken Obi Toppin, who I know you like a lot. Denny Avdija, who I know you like a lot.
I don't think those 2 were going to go that high, though. I thought maybe it would have been Okoro or some other forward. That's what they were. I think that's what they need.
I was surprised about Killian Hayes going as high as 7. Detroit, this was a huge draft for them, and I thought that was a little bit of a gamble for Troy Weaver, the new GM in Detroit.
Well, there weren't any. Well, they could have taken Halliburton, but
yeah, and he ends up going 12 to Sacramento, which I thought
big.
I thought that was a good get for them.
Well, yeah,
if you had told Sacramento at the start of the night that you're going to get Tyrese Halliburton, they would have probably thought they traded up.
Yeah. Well, no, that'll help out De'Aaron Fox because Halliburton could play. He could honestly be the 2 or the 1. It really wouldn't matter because De'Aaron could still get the ball and just relieve some of that pressure he had originally gotten. And also, he's pretty fast, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's probably one of the fastest. Speaking of speed, Kyra Lewis from Alabama, who you and I talked about a little bit last night, he goes to New Orleans at 13. It's another young piece on a young team that they're going to build around Zion.
That'll be exciting this year.
Yeah, they're going to build around him. A guy that I really like at 14, who I think people forgot about because he got hurt early at Vanderbilt, is Aaron Nesmith. I love his game.
Where'd he go?
He went 14 to Boston, which has opened up a lot of the talk that Gordon Hayward is headed to the Knicks.
Yeah, Knicks.
Which
I just don't know what they would get in return. The Knicks have nobody.
I think what they would get in return is they would clear some space because they've got to start clearing some money to pay some of these people. It's going to Jason Tatum's payday is coming. You know, the thing is when you rebuild the way Boston rebuilt, when you rebuild the way Philadelphia rebuilt, at first it's cheap, and it's kind of like the Cubs. You know, they had all these young guys,
yep,
and then all those guys get to that
better and better, and all of a sudden they're making $15-20 million a year.
They all get to that place at the same time, and you have to make decisions, and that's kind of where Philly is. I'm looking at just kind of the rest of the first round to see if anything stuck out to me. Precious Achiuwa from Memphis goes 20 to Miami, which I thought was a good place for him to land. He's got some time. Cole Anthony went 15 to I guess that's the Magic there.
Yep, that was a really good pick, I thought.
Yeah, he was a guy that before the season was talked about as being a top 3 pick, and then he had the injury, and he kind of had a tough freshman year at North Carolina, so his stock fell a little bit. You liked Emmanuel Quickly.
Yep.
The Thunder drafted him, but he'll go to
the Knicks. He was originally going to the Timberwolves, but Timberwolves made a trade with the Knicks. And also the 28th pick, I'm pretty sure it was originally
that's Jaden McDaniels, yeah.
He was drafted by the Lakers, but he's going to the Timberwolves because
he's going to the Timberwolves through the Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was so complicated by the end of the night that I was almost getting dizzy.
Yeah, that pick I think the Thunder traded it to the Timberwolves. Wait, no, they traded it to No, they got it from LA.
Yeah, the Thunder got that pick from LA in the Dennis Schroeder deal.
And then they flipped it to the Timberwolves.
In the Ricky Rubio deal.
Yeah.
Which was the thing that I thought I thought they got too aggressive last night. I think he would have fallen to them a little later, but that was their guy. That's who they wanted, and so they went up and got him, which is what you're supposed to do. If you've got your guy, you go get your guy.
I thought they could have waited till 23, 24, 25 in that area.
Yeah, and there might have been some intel that said, hey, somebody else is going to move in. If you want to get him. And so that was their guy. All right, last thing on the NBA. Still got a little while. The season starts in month and 3 days. I know you don't think it's Milwaukee. Who are your favorites to win the NBA title right now? Who are the teams that, if you're betting on them?
Honestly, Suns are up there. I think they're going to be really interesting.
Really?
I don't know.
You think Chris Paul makes them a title contender?
I don't know if they're going to be a title contender. They might be up there.
The West is loaded.
I think they're going to be similar to a team kind of like the Thunder last year. They have a chance to maybe beat one team, maybe go further. I just don't know.
I think I'm going to hop on the Maverick bandwagon for a year.
And I think they have a chance at it too.
I'd love to watch them play over the course of a season.
I think Porzingis is just going to have to be healthy. If he could get healthy and Luke has the same year he did last year, if not better, who knows where else they could go.
And in the East, I think I like Philadelphia right now.
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, Nicholas Sprito says Milwaukee gave up Hill and Bledsoe for Holiday, so they don't really have another point guard on the roster right now. Got to figure that out.
Holiday's like the only guy that could play it as of now.
Yeah, and maybe that's his spot.
I guess they go him. I have no idea who they would play at shooting guard. I guess Middleton, Giannis, then Brook Lopez. Their team's just weird.
Yeah, well, their team's built around Giannis completely. Yeah. All right, Carson, really appreciate the time. Thank you for your NBA expertise. Hang tight real quick. We'll that way. There you go. Oh, one more thing. They want to know what you think about James Harden. Does he end up in Brooklyn, or do you think he stays in Houston?
I think if he's traded to Brooklyn, I think it's for Kyrie maybe. I don't think he can just get there and because the Nets, all they have is Durant. No way the Nets trade Durant. Kyrie.
I don't think they'd trade Kyrie, though. I think if they brought in Harden, they're bringing him in to be a three-headed monster, and I don't think it works. Here's what's interesting is Houston does not seem to be bothered by either Harden or Westbrook right now. They don't seem to be paying any attention to them. Like, you're under contract. We're going to bring you in. We're going to figure it out. And if you can't smooth it out, then they can do something during the season.
Yep.
And so.
And if they even – who's their head coach now?
It's a good question.
It's D'Antoni. I'm pretty sure he's not even hired right now.
Yeah, he's not there. I don't know that they have a coach right now. Beats me. I've been unable to keep up with it. I'll be honest. I mean, I felt bad because you'll be like, hey, did you hear about this? I'm like, no.
I know Nash is the head coach of the Nets. Donovan's on the Bulls.
Oklahoma City in serious talks. I'm not surprised by this at all. To move Kelly Oubre to the Golden State Warriors, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that like 20 minutes ago.
With Clay out,
they're going to need a big scorer. And I think with a team without Clay, that's 20 points off the board every single night. So
Be curious to see what they get from the Warriors in exchange for.
And what do they have?
I don't know. I don't know that roster very well. I mean, I'm sure it's assets like picks.
Yeah.
That's my guess. All right, Carson, thanks for the time. Appreciate everybody that are out with us. Again, our thanks to Ben Mintz for his time today from Barstool Sports. It's a fun interview. It was great getting to know him. Not sure what our plans are for tomorrow. There's no game this weekend, so that's kind of screwed things up a little bit. No hand raise guys tonight. Chase has another obligation, so we'll be back with you here soon. We'll also get you that Mind on My Money podcast as well. So until next time, for Carson McCready, for Ben Mintz, I'm Neal McCready. Take care. Talk to you soon.